Good evening, you're watching Estuary TV News. Coming up, don't look directly at it. We shine some light on tomorrow's solar eclipse. And I'll be talking to accountant Jackie Hall, who will try to explain the consequences of yesterday's budget. Welcome to Estuary TV News. I'm Hugh Richards. First of all, it's over to Richard Morris for the news headlines.
Hello there. The Deputy Leader of the Labour Party visited Grimsby this morning to promote the importance of the living wage for women in the town. Harriet Harman was promoting the party's Woman to Woman campaign, which a few weeks ago drew criticism for the colour of the bus. We asked her the importance of the female vote for the party.
Well, I think, half the people in this country are women, and actually they've been bearing the brunt of the cuts and the cost of living crisis from the coalition, whether it's the bedroom tax or, pay not keeping up with prices. Women really have suffered from that, and it's important that we're out and about listening to their concerns. We never take the voters for granted. We've got the long-standing MP, Austin Mitchell, standing down. We've got a new candidate, so we're backing her to the hilt. And we want, as many people as possible to vote for Mel, to give her and Grimsby a flying start.
Humberside Police have launched an investigation after a lorry driver collided with a curb outside the Tesco store on Hilderthorpe Road in Bridlington. The driver later died in Scarborough Hospital. Michael Anthony Bartlett, who was 57, died after the incident. It's thought he may have been taken ill at the wheel. Anyone with any kind of information is asked to contact the force. The New People's Premium scheme has been launched in Hull. The service is a sign-in text service that gives people advice on how to save money through things like offering discounts in local shops and gathering local fuel prices. David Shepherdson, a financial officer at Hull City Council, outlined what benefits people will get.
Hopefully they'll be able to gain, financial savings is something. People will be able to, every month, to be able to source something which is going to save them a little bit of money, which is going to release the financial pressure, the financial strain that they may be living with, and just feel better about themselves. Everyone likes to get a bargain, everyone likes to get a discount. That's one of the real big things that we're sort of seeking to push today, and we think it's our job as a local authority, as a council, to sort of help people with that and release some of that stress, really.
That's all from me for now, and I'll be back with more news soon. If you've got any news for us in the meantime, please call us on Grimsby 01472 31553. Bye for now.
Yesterday's budget makes a difference to all of our savings, debts and taxation. There'll almost certainly be another budget a few weeks after the general election, but Ed Balls, Shadow Chancellor of the Exchequer, has said he wouldn't change much if he were in power. To help me understand yesterday's announcements, I'm joined by Jackie Hall from Accountants Baker Tilly. Jackie, thanks very much for coming in.
Good evening.
Some of us find economics and finance quite difficult, and sometimes we listen to the budget speech, in my case desperately hoping that there's not going to be an add to the price of a bottle of scotch. What jumped out for you?
Well, in fact, the price of a bottle of scotch has gone down after yesterday, but about 16p for a bottle of decent scotch. It's actually not going to make a great deal of difference to you, I don't think.
I'm afraid it's not, no.
No. But what actually jumped out in terms of your individual taxpayers, I mean, obviously we've got increases in personal allowances, so getting to the level at which you pay tax is going to take a little bit longer. And we've got some very interesting stuff on flexibility on individual savings accounts, the tax-free savings account, the help to buy ISA. That's quite an interesting concept, and I think that will be very popular in terms of helping. What that's actually done is it's taken two of the very successful policies of recent years to tackle two of the most challenging things for people wanting to get onto the housing market, which is building up a deposit when interest rates are very low, and that deposit needing to be so much higher than it ever was before the banking crisis. So that's a really interesting thing that they brought in there, and I think that will do a lot to help people onto the property ladder. And in terms of parents actually giving children money to help them get onto the ladder, knowing that they're going to get a bonus from the government for doing so.
Well, I mean, that's the point, isn't it? A lot of people can't possibly get onto the property ladder without the bank of mum and dad.
Absolutely, yeah. It's really, really difficult now because of the price of property and the fact that people just do not have the savings to be able to meet that deposit requirement that the banks are asking for now.
So what are the mechanics of this new house buying ISA?
Right, well, how it works, it is an individual savings account, which means that it's tax-free. The interest in there is tax-free, so like any other individual savings account. But how this actually works is we've got a level of a maximum initial deposit, which is £1,000. And every month there's a maximum of £200 a month that can go into this account. And at the point at which those saved funds are used to purchase a property, then the government will put in a 25% bonus. So effectively, you're getting 25%. The government give you money to help you have your deposit for the house. So it's really very good. The bonus is restricted to £3,000 overall, so only 12,000 of savings, but 15,000 is a decent level for it, and will probably get you a deposit on most properties around here. So.
Yes, it will, but 15,000, but sorry, just remind me, what's the maximum you can put in every year?
The maximum every year is 2,400 because it's £200 a month.
Right.
You can start with a deposit of 1,000 as well, and then put in £200 a month until you build it up.
So it still takes you...
It takes you quite a while to get there.
Takes you 7 or 8 years to build up.
That's right, yes. It will take you several, yeah.
Okay, and with that ISA, how young can you be when you start? Because there are junior ISAs you can have when you're under 16, aren't there?
Yeah, there are junior ISAs. I haven't seen the fine detail of it, but I think this will be an ISA that is not available if you're under 18, so it will be an 18-plus ISA probably. But we haven't seen the fine detail of this yet. But I don't think there's nothing to stop you parents putting money into a junior ISA. They just don't get the 25% bonus. But the two working together, you would get your deposit a lot earlier.
If you're starting to save up for the deposit on a house when you're 18, you've really got to get a life, haven't you? Really? Other savings things, there's an annual, for normal ISAs, the annual savings limit has increased.
It has, it's gone up to 15,240. The limit last year was 15,000, so it's not a huge increase. But that's how much you can put into that ISA every year. But possibly the more exciting thing that was announced about ISAs is the flexibility that they're going to have now. And what that is normally, the current system, what you have to do, you can only put £15,000 in a year. You cannot then draw that out and put it back in again. So if you needed the money temporarily, you draw it out. When you put it back in again, it's a new contribution to the ISA. That's going to change. So in effect, if let's say you've put 10,000 in your ISA already, you find that you need 2,000 short term, take it back out, put it back in again, you've still only got the initial 10,000 deposit in your ISA, so you've still got another 5,000 you could use. So it gives that flexibility to actually use your money at the same time as saving it if you need it.
As long as you get it back into
the account. As long as you get
it
back in the same tax year.
The other way that we save, of course, is pensions.
Yes.
And there's been quite a controversial policy, apart from anything else that's been trailed for a long time, that people who are already getting their pensions can sell up, as it were, sell out the pension or buy out the pension.
That's right. I mean, we've had so many changes to pensions recently. It's very difficult for anybody to actually keep up with what's going on there. But the new things that are coming in from the 6th of April this year are this facility to actually take out the whole of your pension in a lump sum. You've always actually been able to do that, but you've had to suffer a 55% tax charge on it if you did take out more than your 25% allowance. Now, going forward, you'll be able to take out the whole of the lump sum and only pay either 45% or in 2016-17 onwards, so that's another tax year onwards, that 45% rate drops again to the marginal rate. So if you're only a 40% or higher rate taxpayer, you'll only pay 40% tax on that additional lump that you're taking out.
If you have just a normal pension or an annuity and it pays you an income every year or every month, that income is taxed.
That will be taxed at what we call your marginal rate of tax. So
That's
if you're a
as
basic
if it were
rate
normal
payer,
income
it's,
tax.
yeah, as if it were normal income tax.
But this is money that
paid.
you've already earned and been taxed on once when you earned it when you were working, and you're
That's
being
right,
taxed on it
yeah.
again the second time.
You got tax relief when you put the contributions in, obviously.
Yes.
But then when you take it out, you can still take 25% of it out tax-free. But if you take more than that 25%, then there is this tax charge. And it's that tax charge that's being reduced to make it easier for people to just take out
Jackie,
the whole lot if they
I
want to.
sometimes wonder why there isn't a revolution. Thank you very much for explaining that. Please don't go away. We'll come back to you and talk about some of the other issues that have come out of the budget in a moment. You're watching Estuary TV News. A little later, we'll be showing off another of our homeless dogs of the week, and Dan Kemp will bring you all the sports news. Tomorrow, people across the UK and Europe are set to be captivated by a partial solar eclipse, which will be darkening the skies, weather permitting. Many people will be wondering how they can view the eclipse safely, so Dave Nunn has investigated the Soaraway Sun.
Weather permitting, Friday sees an exciting time for astronomers as an eclipse will occur in the morning to provide a spectacular sight. In the UK it will be visible as a partial eclipse, but in other areas of the world it will be a total eclipse. Why does this difference occur?
It happens because of the relationship between the Earth, Moon and the Sun. They all move in space in certain definite orbits, and the Moon, as you know, every month the Moon lies between us and the Sun, and so we can see it as a new moon, or if it's the other way on, you see a full moon. And when the moon is new, i.e. when you can't see a moon at all, then the moon is in the same path as the Sun, but it can pass, because its path is tilted, it doesn't always pass in front of the Sun. It can pass a bit above it or a bit below it, and that's why you don't get an eclipse every month. Moon acts like a lens and casts a shadow, a cone shadow, and at the end of the cone shadow, as it hits the Earth, that is where the eclipse is focused on. But it's only a circle 200 miles in diameter. It's all it's all due to angles.
You don't need to invest in a huge telescope to be able to see the eclipse, and besides special glasses, there are a number of homemade solutions you can use to view the eclipse safely.
So you'd have two tubes in the binoculars. You cover one of them up, that's out of the equation, so you just make it a single tube. You can set it up on a tripod, or even mount it. You can just support it with a couple of bricks or books pointing at the angle towards the Sun, and then project it onto a white sheet of cardboard, and then you will see a circular disc of the Sun. It's reasonably good, and you will certainly see the thin crescent that the Sun will become on Friday, if we can see it at all with the weather. Slightly easier than that is a piece of cardboard with a pinhole made with a knitting needle, say about small knitting needle size will do, again, and project that onto a cardboard sheet, and you will see an image. It won't be a very particular image, you won't see sunspots or anything exciting, but you will see the Sun become a crescent.
Even if it is cloudy, we will notice a dimming. But if it is a clear day, using any of these methods or a telescope should provide you with an amazing view of the lunar eclipse.
I'm still with Jackie Hall discussing yesterday's budget. Jackie, we were just talking about pensions. There's been another difference, hasn't there, in yesterday's budget announcement about the lifetime allowance?
That's right. The lifetime allowance has gone down yet again. It's currently 1.25 million, so you can have 1.25 million of savings wrapped up in a pension scheme at the moment. That limit is going down to 1 million. Okay, what that means is that if you have savings over and above 1 million at the minute wrapped up in pensions, you will be able to apply to have those secured so that you don't suffer any tax on them. But going forward, if you were to go above the lifetime allowance, then you will suffer a tax charge on that amount. So they get you tax ways whichever day, don't they? Now, when the lifetime allowance was first brought in, it was actually set at 1.8 million. So it's already come down quite substantially. So
but that seems like an awful lot. £1.25 million is.
It's a lot of pension savings anyway, isn't it?
Yes.
But,
I mean, how many people would have that much in their pension pot?
Not many. About 4% of the population that are currently coming up to retirement might be affected by that.
Okay, well, I'm not coming up to retirement, and I certainly will never be affected by anything about
Nowhere near it.
sums that size. I am, however, affected by taxation. And there's a slight difference in the taxation bands.
Yeah, the bands have every year we have what we've got the personal allowance, and then we've got a basic rate band, and then we go into a higher rate and then an additional rate tax. What has happened previously is the threshold may have moved a little bit, but the band has shrunk, and this year the band has actually increased again. So what that means is you've got more tax or more income falling into the basic rate than you might otherwise had. So that's a saving for you every year on your income tax.
So you don't, if I just get the figures here, until now it's been £10,600 that is the first
that's the personal allowance, so
untaxed.
that's 10,600. That allowance is from the 5th of April 2015, it's the 10,600.
But he announced yesterday that that's going up to 10,800.
That's going up to 10,800 from next year.
From next year, so you have to wait till next year
have
for
to
that.
wait till next year for that one.
Well, of course, there might be another budget between now and then.
Yes, there could be another budget in June, we don't know.
And he's also hoping that it'll go up to 11,000 in 2017.
That's right.
So that's the first threshold, as it were. So
That's
you don't
right.
get taxed on any of that
You don't
money.
get taxed on any of that money at all.
1,800 quid.
That's right, yeah.
But then after that, you do get taxed by paying 40 pence in the pound.
No, once you get beyond that personal allowance, you get into the basic rate tax, which is 20 pence in the pound.
20 pence in the
That's
pound.
right, yeah.
So for every £5 you earn, a quid is taken away from you.
Correct, yeah.
And that it's worse than feudalism in the 12th century. And then after that, after you go up to the next limit, is going to go to £43,000.
That's correct, yeah. Yeah.
So everything you earn
So anything
above that.
That's right. Anything above that, you will be taxed at 40 pence in the pound.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So.
And then everything you save and put into a pension is then taxed again before you're allowed to get it.
Well, there are circumstances in which you can actually get your pension savings out tax-free. They are quite limited, but for example, if you were to die before 75 and pass those pension savings on, then it would be passed on tax-free, for example. Not good advice.
Well, it's a death as a way of being tax efficient.
Never good advice.
It does make it very tempting, though, to just have all your accounts somewhere else where the Chancellor can't get his money on it, get his hands on your money. And of course, he's trying to prevent that with his some of his business changes, the diverted profits.
Yeah, the diverted profits tax. That's specifically for large corporates. It's like your Google tax and your Starbucks and people like that who were quite legitimately at the time diverting profits into other countries where the tax regime was more favourable. We do actually have an extremely favourable corporation tax regime over here now, with the rate going down to 20%. So it's difficult to understand how anyone would now really want to divert those profits anywhere else. But what the diverted profits tax does is tax in the UK those profits that have been diverted to another country, tax in the UK as if they were UK profits. So effectively, yes, no hiding place for them.
Okay, well, I have a certain amount of sympathy for him on that one. Of course, famously, the only ways to make a large amount of money are either to steal it, marry it, or inherit it.
Right.
And the inheritance regime has changed a little bit, isn't it? There's some deeds of variation.
Yeah, it's the deeds of variation issue. And
what are deeds of variation?
Yeah, what a deed of variation does is generally you will have a will. And when you die, your assets would normally be distributed according to that will. But what a deed of variation does, it means that all your beneficiaries can agree that to effectively rewrite the will. So if they do that within 2 years of your death, then it's as if it was the will. So they could do that to, sometimes it's for a tax reason, to save tax, and very often it's actually just because the family see that there needs to be a fairer distribution of that estate.
Now that sounds like
and that's been challenged. Well,
that's going to be there's a lot of Victorian melodrama there, isn't there? Family squabbles over wills. I can see that.
Yes, where there's money, where there's a will, and where there's money, there's always an argument.
Well, I'm afraid so. Yes. One of the things the Chancellor said, I mean, they've talked about the microeconomic personal finance things, but he talked about macroeconomics as well. And for our region, he did make a lovely point. I hope it's true that Yorkshire in the last year, more jobs have been created in Yorkshire than in the whole of France.
That's right. Yeah, because the unemployment rates have plummeted in effect, haven't they? And yes, the statistics do show that Yorkshire as a county has actually created more jobs than anywhere else.
You're based in Hull.
Yes.
You probably, as an accountant, you've got a more acute and sensitive reading of how the economy is going than anybody else. Is When does it start getting better? Is it really accelerating as much as the Chancellor would suggest?
There are we've talked for lots and lots of years really now about the green shoots of recovery and what have you, but there is definitely much better feel about the economy now than there has been for a number of years. There's a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of investment going on. We've got lots of things going on the estuary in terms of the energy estuary, investment by likes of Siemens and CS Wind and people like that who are bringing in lots of jobs, lots of funding, lots of investment into the area. It's absolutely brilliant. And
just one very final quick thing. The Chancellor said that getting rid of paper tax returns, tax doesn't have to be taxing. That sentence doesn't mean anything, does it?
No, what it means to us is 5 years of chaos.
OK, well, good luck with that, Jackie. Thank you very much. Time now for the extremely untaxing Dan Kemp with the sport.
The Hull Stingrays have secured their place in the Elite League playoffs despite a 1-0 penalty shot defeat to the Coventry Blaze. With Cole Lozon unable to take a penalty due to his penalty in overtime, Jordan Mayer, Dominic Osman and Will Frederick and Jordan Knox stepped up but were all denied by goaltender Brian Stewart. After former Stingrays forward Jeremy Tendler, Derek Lee and Ben Arndt missed for the Blaze, it was left to Ryan O'Mara to clinch the extra point for Coventry. Hull City have been charged by the FA for failing to control their players in the 0-0 draw at Leicester City last Saturday. The reaction came as a result of a booking handed to defender Alex Bruce for a challenge on Riyad Mahrez, which saw a number of players surround referee John Moss. The club have until 6 p.m. on the 23rd of March to respond to the charge. Hull Kingston Rovers match against Castleford Tigers has been rescheduled for 5:15 on Sunday the 11th of April. The fixture at the Menderhose Jungle has been rearranged for live television coverage. New Scunthorpe Scorpions signing Theo Piper will hold his testimonial meeting at Edinburgh's Arndale Stadium on Friday evening. The meeting is an individual event of 16 heats, 2 semis and a grand final, with prizes for all finalists. And finally, in the Northern Counties East Premier last night, Cleethorpes Town drew 1-1 with Worksop Town, whilst on Tuesday, Bridlington Town beat Retford United by an astonishing 11-0. In Division 1 this week, there were wins for Bottisford Town, but defeats for Hall Road Rangers, Winston Rangers and Grimsby Borough. And that's all for the sport.
Always time to bring you another Dog of the Week from Sangreet Kennels in Scorby. And this one is looking for a new home.
Which is a lovely lurcher cross. She's a bitch, very, very friendly. Don't really need a lot of exercise, but obviously it does need exercise. It does need chipping. Obviously we'll be chipping it before they go out for rehoming, and they'll come with a nutrient voucher as well. So she's a very nice, lovely looking dog.
That's all we have time for today, I'm afraid. My thanks to Jackie Hall. Remember, if you're looking at the eclipse tomorrow morning, be careful. If you've a story for us, please go to our Facebook or Twitter pages. Details on the screen, email news@estuary.tv or phone Grimsby 31553. Until tomorrow, good evening.
Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. Variable cloud through the morning on Friday with some sunny spells, some light showers later and a maximum temperature of 12 degrees Celsius. Saturday mainly dry and rather cloudy and a cool northerly breeze.